I needed drugs to function. I needed drugs to survive. In my childhood, though it was wonderful in many, many ways, certainly to the outside, I also was not happy as a child. I felt awkward, shy, never comfortable in my own skin. I needed relief from the discomfort I felt being me. I just didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I felt. To compensate for the fact that I felt so alone and I felt so alienated, I honed and developed some great social skills. And it was a big effort. But I actually was very, very popular and always surrounded by friends. A lot of my friends, I would say, were a little bit of, were the outcasts, but a lot, you know, others weren't. But I really had to consciously work at it. Very first time I ever took drugs, I was 15 years old. A friend came over to my house. I grew up in Miami, and she said, "Let's look in your mom's medicine chest for sleeping pills." I didn't know why she wanted to do that because it was early. I didn't know why she wanted to go to sleep. She convinced me to take one. And the minute I took it, I realized what she was talking about. Suddenly, I had an escape from the world and all that tormented me about the world. It was a great relief. My mother took pills, but she took them more or less as prescribed, but she did like them. I ended up having the same affection for pharmaceutical drugs, but I took it to a level she did not. I broke my mother's heart with my addiction, and my father died when I was fairly young, so he saw some of it in the early days. It devastated both my parents. It was disgraceful. You know, I've had a few terrible experiences, but I would say the worst was waking up in jail having passed out at the wheel about 3 weeks before I was to start college at Sarah Lawrence in New York. This was in Miami. A boyfriend of mine had put me in the car, way too intoxicated to drive, and I passed out, and I came to in a jail. And I was probably, what, 18, 17, 18. The only reason I wasn't convicted of a felony for possession of narcotics was that I actually had a prescription. When I went to college, I continued to be an addict, but I got through college. In those days, I was just drinking. And then I got out of college and I moved to California, and I got sober in a 12-step program, and my life really took off. I had a career which took off tremendously, almost like literally the day I got sober. I got a great job opportunity, and it just went up and up and up. I think in the beginning I hit it a lot because I got promoted and I got lots of accolades and bonuses and all the good stuff you get. But at the end, they knew. They had to know. All the success I had was meaningless because when you're on drugs, you don't feel it. You don't understand it. I see people now, you know, that love their careers and they have fun doing it, and it's what they were born to do. And I never had that feeling because, you know, either the drugs or youth or insecurity. Yeah, it's a shame. 10 or so years into that career, actually more into that career, I then relapsed on prescription painkillers. I worked for a while, but not that long after, I lost the career, because that's what happens. I mean, I lost everything I'd worked for. You know, not just the career, the house, all of it. I don't have that in-between switch. I am an alcoholic and an addict, and if I drink, I'm gonna get bombed. I handled it the only way I knew how to handle it, which was I was either gonna go live on the street like a homeless person, or I was gonna get better. There was relapses and treatment, relapse, treatment, hospital treatment. It was very hard, and it eventually took everything I had. First time I was really young, about 26, I was gonna get sober and I was gonna be a famous writer or agent or casting director, and I kind of achieved that. When I was a teenager, not much was known about drug addiction. You know, you only read about it, you know, jazz musicians were drug addicts, you know. So they didn't know what to do about it. They thought therapy could cure it. They didn't think that, you know, it was something that there were steps that could be helpful. Next time I got sober, I was in my early 50s. And I just wanted to not die. It was Christmas Eve, and I knew I was going into treatment that night. I think I probably arrived at midnight because it takes you forever to do anything on drugs. I did what I always did on opiates. I puttered around my apartment rearranging furniture. I used to do that all day long, all night long and all day long. And then I eventually, I don't know how, I got packed into the hospital. CLEAN saved my life. I could not get off these drugs. And CLEAN gave me a scholarship. Hansel gave me the first time in my life. I say this a lot to people, but it wasn't until I met Dr. Hansel and went to CLEAN that I got the opiate detox I should have had from the beginning. There wasn't a call center or anything like that, but the techs, as they're called, the people who are down at the facility, were amazing. They were so good and so nice. I'd been in one place specifically, it shall remain nameless, but where they're mean. I mean, they punish you. They're like, you're an addict, you did something wrong. I mean, no concept of medical science and, you know, the disease of addiction. And I don't blame all the doctors. I blame myself for not being too afraid to go to my bosses and say, I have an addiction, I want to get, I need to take a leave of absence. I should have done that, but I was too chicken. CLEAN is the opposite. Was the opposite for me. They got it immediately. I was one of those addicts that had to get first rid of the alcohol, then the coke, then the tranquilizers. I did everything in stages. But when I finally got off every drug that's addictive, I'm a completely different person. I'm not only able to take care of myself, I'm able to help other people if they need it, which is, you know, pretty remarkable. So I talk to people every day working at CLEAN who are my age, older, younger, whatever, and they can't get off opiates. They will, and then they'll go right back. They'll stop for a while, they'll go right back. It's such a pull. Working at CLEAN, I enjoy so much because I can write while I do it. And I mean, even if the writing, you know, let's say I sell a book, I still would work at CLEAN because it's something that gives me purpose every day. Hi, thank you for calling CLEAN. This is Cara. You know, it's just a shame I had to lose everything to get sober, but that's how it was. You know, I can't do anything about it now. Doing everything sober takes, especially romantic relationships, it takes practice. Honestly, you don't automatically feel as comfortable as you do. There's no social lubricant for me. I've been in a relationship or two with someone who was using and drinking or whatever, and they, I think I was a bore for them. I'm sure I was. It was not good. I mean, ideally, for me, I need to be with someone who's really just not interested in drugs and drinking or in recovery like I am. You know, whatever the day is, I try to have the best time within that day. Doesn't always work. I have shitty days like everybody else. I get angry, I get upset, and then I have days where I can turn that all around and just find peace. I wake up in the morning feeling good. That right there is amazing. I don't wake up in fear. I don't worry how I'm going to pay my bills, the rent, none of that. You know, my vision for the future now is being able to accomplish whatever I want to do. Another thing about the future is I don't tend to live in it anymore. I really am much more anchored to the short term now. I make goals and plans, sure, but I'm not constantly like fretting about the future. So I'm just trying to enjoy my life as it comes. Every day, you know, I learn more and more about myself. I really was kind of walking around in a dream all those years I did drugs. I couldn't process. My insight button was switched off. I just couldn't process information about myself, good or bad. And, you know, I'm getting to do that.